Welcome to It's Always Sunny in Hollywood, and today we're getting all Disneyed up with one of the last movies Disney would want us to talk about. And you're probably asking, why did I do a Zelda intro if this is a Disney movie? Well, I didn't think it through.
So anyway, I'm Red Drum Arts.
And I'm Lugia, and I could see some parallels to Zelda, although this came out like a year before.
It did.
Twilight
Yes, the
Princess.
Black Cauldron predicted Zelda.
I
Anyway,
always
I
heard
am
that
Patrick.
Zelda was inspired by
Peter
the
Pan.
Ridley Scott
Peter
no the
Pan.
Ridley Scott and Tom Cruise movie Legend. I also heard it was inspired by Peter Pan. Yeah, but I heard like you guys ever see
There's
that
a
fantasy movie
rumor.
Legend?
I have not,
No.
but I did read there is a rumor that this might have inspired Zelda, but it's just a rumor. I couldn't find anything concrete. But like the Peter Pan stuff, that's written down. That is like factual.
Yeah, yeah, definitely Peter Pan. I mean, like even Link's pretty unique hat is pretty similar to Peter Pan's pretty unique hat, and Navi and Tink and all that stuff.
We can get into the Zelda comparisons later. Before we jump into that, let's talk for a minute about Broadway because, well, we got some news regarding the Outsiders musical, and that is we have word on casting. And this is interesting because three of the main leads are newcomers. They have never been on Broadway before. They are Brody Grant playing Ponyboy, Brent Comer as Daryl, and Jason Schmidt as Soda Pop. And other than that, we have they released one of the songs from the musical Great Expectations as a little sneak peek, a little taste of what's to come. I linked it in the chat. Did you guys check it out at all?
I heard a little bit of it, and it sounded pretty good.
I have not.
It has well, the people making the soundtrack are like based in folk music, so this kind of has that folk pop. The best way I can put it,
Bob
do
Dylan?
you know? I was gonna say something like Hosier or the guy who sang "Say You Won't Let Go." I forget his name, but do you know that song?
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of weird for the outsiders, but okay, sure.
I
I
want to
do
say it's
too.
because they want to separate it from West Side Story, which was more like swing and jazz.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking because the movie played like a lot of like Elvis songs, so I kind of figured it would go for that kind of like classic kind of rock thing, maybe. Or since you mentioned folk, I was thinking it was like, yeah, Bob Dylan or Simon and Garfunkel. But yeah, sure.
The "Take
Hosier
Me to
feels
Church"
like so
guy.
modern, so like I'm still kind of like that'll be interesting, I guess. That feels so modern, but okay, sure.
I don't know. That's what I was reminded of when listening to it anyway. But yeah, I like what I'm hearing so far. Pretty good song. One thing though, this probably doesn't really matter or whatever, but like this song is obviously sung from Ponyboy's point of view. Lugia, do you think he sounded a bit older?
Um, kind of. I mean, I didn't listen to the full song, mind you, but
But like a snippet.
yeah.
I
I
mean,
don't
I
know.
know
It'll
in
probably
theater,
grow
I
on
know,
you, like the more songs you hear and when you see the actual musical for itself.
yeah, and I know in theater, like it's common to cast like people in their 30s as like high schoolers and whatever. But I don't know. This that's just stood out to me because I recall Ponyboy is supposed to be the youngest of the Greasers. So the fact that he sounds like 20 just makes me wonder how everybody else is gonna sound.
Jerry's gonna be in his 80s.
It doesn't bother me or anything. It's just something I noticed. But regardless, yeah, this opens in just a few months, so we'll see what else comes of that. I'll probably check it out since I do like The Outsiders.
Yep.
But if that's all I have regarding this, unless you guys have anything else to say.
Well, since we're talking about music, now and then the Beatles basically released what's been dubbed as their last song, Now and Then. This has interesting production history. So basically, Now and Then was a psychedelic soft rock song that John Lennon wrote in 77 as a kind of solo piano demo, but he left it unfinished and it stayed unfinished because he died. Anyway, when the Beatles were having reunion singles in the mid 90s, they basically kind of worked on doing this, but it was kind of shelved until now, where it was completed by Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, and they used some of the recordings from the '95 session that Harrison was on. So kind of everyone kind of worked on it in some way.
There was a
Yeah.
documentary
So the
that was made, and I think they used like machine learning to separate John Lennon's vocals from the music.
Yeah, so that was in the 2021 Peter Jackson documentary Get Back. And Jackson also apparently directed the music video for Now and Then. It's not a very good music video. Okay, so I'm gonna be honest. The song's okay, but I've heard like fans make their own like cuts of this song before, and I'll be honest, a lot of like the fan stuff I've heard is a lot better. So like it's a good
Is there?
song, but I don't really like kind of like this final production. That's because it's good, but like it's not even close to like the best version of the song I've heard, so I'm just like, it's okay.
Well, let me ask: is there a fan cut that you think is like a cut above the rest?
The YouTube channel is called the McCartney Years. It's from 16 years ago. One of my friends also found one that was made by one of those Paul's Not Dead conspiracy people. And you know what? The man may be a little bit crazy, but conspiracy theorists have a good eye for details, so it wasn't that bad. I don't know.
Hey,
Yeah,
my brother told me the only way to deal with the conspiracy theorist is to one up them. You
Just
gotta
get
one
a
up them
bigger
with
tinfoil hat.
an even crazier conspiracy. My brother told me, if you come across somebody who believes the moon landing was fake, the only way to respond to them is, "Wait, you believe in the moon?"
it was kind of funny because then my friend was like, "Oh, he's a conspiracy nut." Because I'm like, "Aren't you a conspiracy nut?" And I was like, "Yeah, but shut up." I was like, "I don't know,"
Yet at
because
least he has the
I
guts
don't
to
know.
admit that at least he has the guts to admit he's crazy. So does that make him less crazy?
His conspiracy is more like so. A lot of people, the Paul's not dead theory, for most people is like that Paul McCartney was like killed and replaced by a doppelganger. When he is more like, listen, Paul McCartney was like really into like occult shit and like Aleister Crowley. So if he was replaced, he probably just got like possessed by a demon or some shit. And I'm like, you know what? That's kind of insane, but there's more of a logic to that than what the other shit is. So I don't know.
It's so crazy that,
Anyway,
you know what? It's slightly believable.
my dad just texted me the picture of the IKEA stuffed shark and was like, "Hey, you want this?"
Wait,
Okay.
why?
Do you want an
I don't know.
IKEA
I think he's
stuffed
just at
shark?
IKEA. He's just at IKEA. I mean, I did like talk about getting one of those a while back. By the way, are you guys familiar with the IKEA shark meme?
No.
No.
So the meme is that trans women really like it, and he has kind of become a symbol for the trans community as like a protector of sort, like a guardian angel, the guardian angel stuffed IKEA shark.
I'm sorry, what? The Blahaj stuffed IKEA shark?
Yep.
Is that the one? This is an LGBTQ plus symbol?
Yes.
Odd flex, but okay. What's LGBTQ plus about it? It's just a stuffed shark.
Just a lot of trans people just happen to own it, so people are
Really?
just like,
Huh.
yeah, "Fuck it, let's just make it a thing." I don't know.
This is news to me. I've never heard of this. Lugia, did you know about this?
No. You learn something new
All
every
right,
day.
well, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how to respond to this.
This was completely unplanned.
Yeah, I mean, I legit just got a random text right now.
How do you how do you how do you come off of that?
You
I don't
don't.
know.
You're right, you don't.
No,
So,
earlier we were
the Black
talking about.
Cauldron.
Actually, wait. So you know how you guys earlier were saying like the Black Cauldron kind of reminded you of Zelda?
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of funny. The Black Cauldron kind of reminded me a little bit of Berserk. What's really funny is that when I think about it, Berserk is really similar to Zelda because Berserk, you follow this lone swordsman with the fairy next to him. The only difference is that the world is like super grim and dark instead of, Hyrule. So I'm like, oh, okay. And I guess like Black
Oh my
Cauldron kind of
God,
reminds me of
guys! Oh my God, we've discovered it. The Triforce. It all makes sense now. One piece is the Black Cauldron. One piece is Zelda, and the final piece is Berserk. It all makes sense.
some say no, One Piece is a different show. That's about pirates.
I'm. You know what I mean.
I know that was just
One
funny. That was just a
triangle
good
is the
joke.
Black Cauldron. The other triangle is Zelda, and the final triangle is Berserk.
Okay,
The
but what
pieces
about
were
the
right
other
in front of us.
Triforce? Because Link Between
One in
Worlds
the
proves
middle.
that there's another Triforce, and it's an upside down
Uh,
There's
Triforce, and it's
Legend.
black.
There's Legend.
Well,
There's Peter Pan.
one of them, yeah, one is Peter
One of them
Pan.
is Legend. One is Legend.
The
One is Peter
other,
Pan.
and the final one is
Lord of the Rings.
sure, yeah, let's
There
go
you
with
go.
that.
We solved it.
All
We
right.
cracked the code.
We did. We finally cracked it. But we should probably actually get into the Black Cauldron now, shouldn't we? Like, I mean,
Let's.
not
Yeah.
literally, because I mean, you'll die if you go into it. But anyway, yes. So, Black Cauldron. This is loosely based on the first two books in the 5-novel Chronicles of Prydain series by Lloyd Alexander, and it was directed by Ted Berman and Richard Rich, both of which who previously directed The Fox and the Hound. And this movie, The Black Cauldron, has a few notable firsts for Disney. It was the first animated Disney film to be rated PG, the first animated Disney film without any musical numbers, and the first animated Disney film to use CGI. But the journey to bring this movie to life was a messy bitch. I'm not going to get into the whole deal, but basically it suffered from a lack of direction as well as numerous internal conflicts with the animators. But I think what most people know about its troubled production is what happened when the film finished. So, see, in 1984, Disney went through a management change. Michael Eisner became the new CEO, and Jeffrey Katzenberg was put in charge of the animation division. Katzenberg was given a test screening of The Black Cauldron, and he thought it was way too violent and scary for family audiences, so he demanded the film be heavily edited. Now, the animators tried explaining to him that you can't really change a completed animated film the same way you can change a completed live-action film, but Jeffrey's in charge, so they had to do what he said. And under his orders, about 10 to 15 minutes of footage was cut, and several scenes were rewritten and reanimated to accommodate. Some of those scenes have been restored as bonus features, others, though, have been lost to time. The Black Cauldron was the most expensive animated film ever made at the time of its release, with a budget of $44 million. It only made
Really?
21 million worldwide. Yeah,
Yeah.
it only made
does not
21 million.
look that expensive. I thought it was one
Well,
of the lower budget features.
Well, keep in mind they also had
No.
to cut out like a good chunk of the movie too.
Yeah,
Oh right, yeah.
apparently the original budget was estimated to be like 25 million, but one of the people on the production team said no, it was way more than we thought it was going to be. Like I said, messy bitch of a production. But despite its huge budget, it only made less than half of it. And it's pretty notoriously well known. This movie made less money than the Care Bears movie, which opened a few months earlier. I originally thought that was like a Barbenheimer thing, where both films were the same day, but now this was months apart. How sad would it be, though, if they came out the same day, Care Bears still beat it?
I'd believe it. That would happen.
But, yeah, so considering its huge budget, the fact that it made less than half of it back, and the fact it was beaten by a movie based on greeting card characters, yeah, this is generally considered Disney's lowest point. And due to its failure, the company nearly sold off the animation department, believing it didn't have any value to it. Of course, that didn't end up happening, but it almost did. And even to this day, the company doesn't really acknowledge this movie's existence. It has a bit of a cult following, but like you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone who says like it's one of their favorites. In fact, the studio didn't even release it on home media until like over a decade later. So yeah, quite the black sheep in the Disney canon. And Red, you said you were the only one of the three of us who hadn't seen it before?
Yeah.
Lugia, what, just out of curiosity, what did you remember from your initial viewing? Did you remember liking it? Did you remember any details?
I saw this movie a long time ago when I was a kid, and I didn't really pick up on a whole lot of it. Out of all the Disney movies I saw back then, like this one stuck out in my mind the least. So I didn't really remember like anything that happened.
I'm in a similar boat as you. I only saw this movie once years ago, over 10 years ago, maybe even 15, but that's besides the point. But a part of this movie is ingrained in my memory because, okay, so when I was younger, I had this VHS tape that was a collection of classic Mickey Mouse shorts, and one of the trailers before the shorts was of the Black Cauldron's VHS release. And because I watched that VHS all the time, I would always see that trailer. So clips and bits from that trailer are just ingrained in my head because of it.
So you remember the trailer more than the actual movie.
I remember the trailer more than the movie, yes.
Okay.
What is the Black Cauldron about? Let's really get into this. So, the Black Cauldron is set in medieval times, not the chain, the actual era of medieval times. And it's about a young boy named Taran. Taran is put in charge of looking after a pig that has this magical ability where if it submerges its head in water, it will present a vision of the future. All right? And she foretells that an evil entity known as the Horned King will find a device known as the Black Cauldron, which he will use to summon an army of undead soldiers to take over the world. So it is up to Taran, along with the help of a princess, a bard, and a dog gremlin thing, to find the cauldron before the Horned King does. So let the quest begin. Who wants to start?
I'm curious to hear what Red has to say about this since he hasn't seen it before.
All
I'll
right,
be
Red,
honest.
what do you think?
I don't really have a ton to say about it. I just saw that and I was
Really?
like, that is the most okay thing I've seen. I kind of liked some of like the darker elements, but like the fact that it was just the animation kind of like threw me off. Like it's not horrible or anything, but like I kind of like this sort of 80s D&D kind of like darker aesthetics, but yeah, I don't know, it's okay. But I don't have much to say about it. I feel like something like Secret of Nim really that has like a similar kind of dark aesthetic was like a lot better.
I'm on a
The
Okay,
similar
Horned King
boat
so
was
with
kind of cool
you
though.
because this is the first time in a while where I have felt absolutely nothing after watching a movie. I
really,
can't even pinpoint when the last time I felt this way was, but like I just saw it. I saw Black Cauldron and I'm like, okay, I did not gain anything from this. And I mean, and again, it's not awful, but it plays it too safe.
I
Yeah.
am in a similar boat to you guys. I'll say this. I think I'm the most positive. Like, okay, I don't think this is a bad movie, but how can I word this? Okay, you know the term half baked? Like people use
Yeah.
that term to describe like it had like a really cool idea,
Yeah.
but it didn't reach it. This feels like quarter baked. Like the unique aspects are there, but they're so minor
I felt
and
like this
hardly
movie was
expanded upon.
yeah, this movie felt like it was missing an entire second act. Like how do you do
Yeah.
that?
You know that Earthsea movie that that the Ghibli made?
Hmm.
It reminds me of that because that movie is also this like fantasy epic adapting a book and that's just completely half baked even though the animation is like kind of impressive like or interesting. It's just there's not much to it. I mean, this and I'll admit like sometimes the animation is good, but sometimes I felt like I was watching like a feature length Zelda CDI cutscene. Sometimes, like not always. Sometimes it was good, but you know. Gurgi. Should we talk about Gurgi?
Gurgi's the best character. Shut up.
I don't know. I don't know about that. The
Okay, yeah,
voice
people hate Gurgi because of his voice. I'll be real, I tolerated him.
I can't understand him like half of the time.
It's like I imagined. I tried doing an impression of him, and every time I do an impression of him, he either sounds like that weird fucking baby voice that Robbie from Victorious would do, or Whitey from Eight Crazy Nights. It's like, oh, gee, we let's go to Panda Express. Like, oh,
They got
Good
munchings
lord.
and crunchings there.
Gurgi.
I don't know. I don't know. Did he annoy you guys at all?
He didn't annoy
He
me,
didn't annoy me.
but
But
like
again, I just felt nothing. But I was like, he's like the only time where I didn't feel nothing. For I just felt confused. I was just like, what is this thing?
it's got
A
hair and a
dog gremlin.
mustache
I
and it
don't
looks
Who
know.
like a
are you?
sloth.
Who is your master?
I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna say something. This is a terrible idea. I don't care though. If they ever remake this movie, I want Sam Elliott to voice Gurgi solely because they both have similar mustaches. I know it's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
I don't fucking care. I want to hear Sam Elliott say, "Where's the munchings and crunchings?
Actually,
Where's the apple, master?"
Gurgi
Like it's
kind
a
of
terrible
does
idea.
live
I don't
on
care.
in Lord of the Rings because the actor who played Gollum for Lord of the Rings took notes from Gurgi in this movie.
Real?
Yeah,
Okay, see, so when we
Honestly,
mentioned Lord of the Rings
yeah.
earlier, that is part of the Triforce there. So Lord of the Rings wasn't an arbitrary pick.
but it's on the other Triforce, the low rule Triforce.
Yeah, I will say, now that you mention it, I feel like the best parts of the animation here remind me of like the weird stuff that Ralph Bakshi did in his Lord of the Rings adaptation. So like that's the thing. Like I feel like if you want to see this movie, I would just recommend watching Bakshi's Lord of the Rings or like Bakshi's Wizards because they're also like dark fantasy, kind of geared towards kids, kind of not. But like Bakshi just takes way more risks than Disney, so like it's a lot weirder. But because it's a lot weirder, it just sticks out with me more. When here, like it's got like the standard kind of Disney faces. Like I don't know if you want to play like a dark fantasy Disney thing, you got Secret of Nim, you got Dragon's Lair, the video game. Like I don't know, I just feel like, and if you just want
This
like
feels
some
like
hero's
this
journey,
feels
like fantasy
this,
Disney thing, then
this,
like
yeah, this feels like a slightly darker Sword in the Stone.
yeah, and Sword and Stone is just better. I connect with the characters more. I like Arthur. I like Merlin. I like that weird witch lady that
Well,
No,
does the
I
weird
want to get to
shit.
that point. The
I like
characters,
that squirrel that really wants to fuck Arthur for some reason.
Lugia,
Why did they put that in
wait,
there? I don't know,
Lugia, yeah,
but
the characters.
yeah. Who the fuck are these people?
Honestly, yeah. Okay, so at the end of the movie, well, around the middle point, Taran gives away the magical sword because the witches trade it for the cauldron, and he
I will
says,
give you my
"Without my
most
sword,"
prized possession. Buddy, you
he
had that for
says,
like a day.
he said, "Without my sword, I'm nothing." I'm like, buddy, you were nobody with the sword.
The sword did all the work.
It did. There's even that conversation the princess has. Like, the sword did all the work. You're not a hero. Like, the movie, I'd complain about it, but the movie did it for me. And then there's the bard. There's the bard who every time he lies, the string breaks.
You're
That
like,
doesn't really
what's his
tie
name?
into anything.
Fluter?
But yes. And the princess has an orb that follows her around. It's just not in the movie after it's introduced.
She doesn't even do anything after she's introduced. She's just along for the
Exactly.
ride.
That's the big thing. Like, the world building and the characters are just not that compelling. And this is a fantasy world where, the world building and everything, that's the interesting part. That's why you watch it. But these people, I'm just like, they're here.
That's
They
why
have things.
Gurgi's the best character, because he actually
At least
did shit.
He sacrificed himself. That was a noble sacrifice. Dude just gave away a sword that did everything for him.
And Fluter just told the witch to fuck off. Which, to be fair,
And-
was kind of cool, but at the same time, that's like his one big moment.
And I'm pretty sure my mind's hazy, but I swear the pig was going to play a bigger part.
Yeah, no, because like they tell you what Henwin the pig is like all about, and the Horn King is like making it his goal to get the pig, and then at the halfway point, where's the pig? In a hole somewhere.
And they don't even explain how the Horn King knew the pig was the secret to getting the cauldron. It's just, oh, the Horn King knows of the pig. Did we miss something? Where? What? Did someone tell him, hey, I saw this weird pig? It went for a drink and it predicted what? And again, a pig that when you put its head in water, it shows the future. What the fuck? How do you come up with that? Like, it's unique, but what?
I can suspend my disbelief for that at the very least. I just don't understand like how everything else is supposed to connect when there's literally almost no connective tissue.
Speaking of no connective tissue, okay, this part made me laugh. At the very end of the movie, when, spoiler alert, they resurrect Gurgi, the background fucking changes in between cuts.
Yeah.
They're on a beach, and then by the end, they're in a forest. I'm like, what just happened? They were so happy they teleported locations.
Or trees just grew in an instant in their location.
Let it grow. Gurgi is secretly the Lorax. Again, back to the mustache. So, okay, we rag on this movie for being very shallow, but it's like I said, it's not bad. It's just there's not much here. But
if this was your first movie, this would probably blow you away. But if you've seen like almost any other movie, much less a Disney movie, there's almost nothing here for you.
But like I said, there is some good stuff. Like again, it is Disney, so it does look good. Like again, typical designs and typical fantasy forests and castles, but it's well crafted. And I will
Some of
give
it hasn't
credit.
aged well.
Oh, yeah, but again, this was the first time they tried using CGI. But even then, I'll admit, like the stuff with the cauldron was pretty cool. Like I liked how sketchy the fire was
Yeah, but then you get
and the
like
smoke and
stuff like
everything
the
around
pink
it.
sky with the castle, and you could just see like how the characters are like cut out and just placed in the foreground.
Still, though, this isn't bad animation.
No, far
Maybe
from
not
it.
top tier maybe not top tier Disney, but like I admire parts of it. And if nothing else, I will say like the score isn't bad. Who did the score for this movie? I think Elmer Bernstein. Let me check.
I just wish it took, I guess, a bit more risks.
Yeah, Elmer Bernstein.
I know, like, didn't Tim Burton do like the initial designs and then they just threw out all of his designs? And I'm like, man,
He did, yes.
imagine if Tim Burton got to make this movie. Like, hey, Disney, you do a lot of live action remakes. Let Tim Burton do a live action remake of this, and he let him
And
just use
again,
his
cast
old
Sam
designs.
Elliott as Gurgi.
I'm actually
Says
curious
forever.
now because you said that there were like 10 to 12 minutes of animation cut.
Mm-hmm.
What would those scenes have had?
Taran
No,
murders
from,
him. He
from the
kills Gertie.
research from the research I found, the most significant cuts was the scene with the fairies was extended to explore that world a little bit more. There were a few like just moments of the characters having conversations, but the big scene that was cut, the big scene that really made Katzenberg upset was when the army first is summoned from the Black Cauldron, because that scene was very graphic because the living henchmen like oil and melt. Or
I mean,
there
they
are like
probably like
cells and
animate that in
storyboards,
like a less gruesome way. Like I don't think it
maybe,
would have
but
been that graphic, but
actually, here's I can turn that fact. I can make that fact 10 times more interesting. You know why?
why?
That sequence took like 5 months to animate, and the person who animated it was Phil Nibelink.
You know what? I was gonna ask if Phil Niblink had anything to do with this movie. There you go. You
He
just answered that for me before
he
I could
was
even ask it.
he was one of the he animated the sequence that was deemed too dark to cut. The guy who made Sealed with a Kiss has footage too dark for Disney that is lost media. Phil, again,
He
write a
got
book, please.
he got robbed so hard.
He did get robbed, but again, like that footage is lost. You can find storyboards, but it was never finished.
I love how it just comes
My,
full circle.
it does come full circle.
Why is Phil Nibelink like your Doug Walker? Why are they
I
your Tommy
told
Wiseau?
I
Your
told
Neil
you
Breen?
because this man is so passionate, and he's involved in some of the weirdest movies and also some of the greatest movies. We each have our own guy. Phil is my guy. He wasn't the reason I chose this movie though.
No,
That's just a
that's
neat
so
bonus.
funny.
Like I said, this is the movie that almost killed Disney animation, and like I said, it's not. I don't think it's bad. Like it's not bad enough for that. Like kill the studio, but there is just not much here.
I mean, if you want to see a
Like I
frog
said,
bouncing on a witch's tits, this is the movie for you. But outside of that,
I
I
mean,
don't know what else you're looking for.
if you want something like that again, you could watch the Ralph Bakshi fantasy games. But yeah,
I do
okay.
kind of wish they did
So
include some of the extended scenes though, because you said like there were more character interactions.
mhm,
Yeah, this movie could have used that. Because I think we only
absolutely.
had like maybe like one scene dedicated to them talking together, and even then it was just like an argument that went nowhere and got resolved really fast.
I don't know. I think I've said my piece. You guys.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to add.
So yeah, Black Cauldron, not bad, but definitely not great.
Just play a Zelda game.
yes,
Okay?
or check out Ralph Bakshi's fantasy films or Don Bluth's fantasy stuff because basically the stuff you'd want here would be there. Anyway, my recommendation, right?
Yep.
All right. Well, we're kind of well past Halloween now, but I figured I could do something that's still a little bit spooky again, like the Black Cauldron, where it's like it would fit outside of Halloween as much as it would fit inside. So, my pick is for the film Ravenous. It's from
Ravenous?
1999. Ravenous from 1999. It's directed by Antonia Bird. And yeah, it takes place in the 1840s. It's basically like a cannibal western kind of Civil War thing.
I think I've
Kind of a
heard
comedy,
of
kind of not.
this.
It's a very
I have
unique
never heard
film.
of this film before.
Yeah, it's a film that I kind of just I saw like a YouTube video on. It looked really compelling. I watched it, and yeah, it's kind of one of my favorite films now. Not like a favorite, but like I really love this film. Guy Pearce is in it. David Arquette. They've been on the show before. David Arquette has been on the show very recently. You know Dewey
Yeah.
from Scream?
The
Yeah, of
Yeah,
funny,
course.
David Arquette's in,
funny
that's
cop
David
man.
Arquette. Funny cop. Yeah, the funny cop man. He's in this movie. So
What's the
we're getting
last
a lot
movie
of
we
David
saw Guy
Arquette
Pearce in?
lately.
Was it Memento?
No, he
Oh.
was in I think he was in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
He was?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was. He
he
was
was
Oh,
the
right,
very
yeah.
over
flamboyant.
the top one.
He was the
Yeah,
very
yeah, yeah,
flamboyant guy.
yeah.
And I don't know.
Right,
I'm sure
Ravenous.
eventually we're gonna get to LA Confidential. I love me some LA Confidential. This actually came out right in between LA Confidential and Memento, so perfect. This was the year right before Memento, so peak Guy Pearce.
What a guy.
Eventually, we're
But
gonna go through every movie he's been in the '90s because we got Priscilla, which was '94, LA Confidential, which we haven't done yet, but it's gonna happen eventually. That was '97. Then Ravenous '99. Then Memento 2000. But yeah, Ravenous, pretty good movie. Kind of dark comedy, but it's still, there's nothing like too excessive. I think about it. There'll be gore because it's about cannibals, but yeah, a bit fantastical. It's a little bit odd. Like this movie bombed because the studio had no idea how to advertise it. They weren't sure to advertise it as a horror movie or as a comedy, as like a western because it's one of those films where like it's really hard to place. Like what genre is it? I don't know. It's not really doesn't really fit any real genre, but it's a great film.
it's its own beast entirely.
So yeah,
All right, so
check it
next
out.
week.
It has a pretty interesting production history, but I'll get into that next week.
All right, so next week is Ravenous. This has been It's Always Sunny in Hollywood. Jumps into Cauldron and unexists.
Do your best Gurgi impression.
Crunchings and crunchings. No, that was Gollum, which I know, but
Oh
give
no!
me the app. I can't do Gurgi. It just goes back to Gollum.
That was
Oh, look at me! I'm Whitey. Whoa! Happy Hanukkah,
That's-
everybody!
Imagine a movie where Whitey and Gurgi and Gollum team up to find the true meaning of Hanukkah. I don't know. The real Black Cauldron was the friends we made along the way. If only I knew who these people were. That's the moral of the story. That's the end. Black Cauldron, everybody. Again, jumps into pot, unexists.